How has it been going so far here in Manchester?
Everyone's so lovely in Manchester. It's an incredibly friendly place. I can see people who I saw like earlier, which has been very nice. Hi there, I can see Brian. Hi. It's been really, really nice just interacting with people, and the energy and the excitement for the event and for I think all the films and TV shows that are being celebrated here is really kind of clear to see. It's been fun to be around it.
It's been so fun, and this is such a great rowdy crowd. Manchester is such a fun town. But I'm glad you just mentioned that we have a lot of different shows and movies sort of represented here. Number one, what are you sort of into in terms of comic books, in terms of movie and TV genres? Like we have Stranger Things,
Yeah, well, huge Stranger Things fan as well. Of course, I grew up on Star Wars, so that's very, very cool for me to be, sat in a room with so many of the former cast members. Science fiction, like a lot of, young people, offered me the chance for escapism. I wasn't always happy at school, wasn't always happy as a young person, and films, sci-fi films in particular, really kind of offered me a sort of an escape route, sometimes, and an opportunity to kind of be happy, switch off my thoughts, and get lost in the world of sci-fi for a while.
Do you have any favorite sci-fi films or TV shows that you can tell us about?
Oh my gosh, probably too many to mention. I mean, Star Wars was the big one when I was younger. That was the one that I remember like recreating in a bathrobe, and I used to take the inside tubing of like wrapping paper and paint it green. That was my lightsaber. I've seen some slightly higher budget lightsabers on display today, but had to make do with that and a brown bathrobe. Until actually I got to go to Elstree Film Studios and actually held one of the slightly better lightsabers. That was a pretty cool experience. So yeah, Star Wars is definitely up there for me and quite hard to beat.
Well, we do luckily have a lot of vendors here with some really cool lightsabers, so maybe we'll upgrade you from the...
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
From the giant toilet roll that I had. That would be good.
We'll make a call. I think we can make that happen. I think we've got the budget for that just for you. So speaking of Star Wars, it was really cool for me to interview some of the original trilogy members here, and I asked them a question I'd love to ask you. Are you into sort of the newer iterations of Star Wars? So we've got The Mandalorian, Boba Fett. I just finished Andor. A lot of Andor fans are in here, we said earlier. Have you watched any of these shows? And if so, what are your thoughts?
I think it's really impressive the way that, they've been able to kind of expand the universe and sort of cater to the fans' appetite. It's so kind of rich with material and character depth. I know on Guardians, a lot of the makeup team worked on a lot of the Star Wars projects. So they were going between, Mandalorian and then on to Guardians, and they were kind of sharing some stories of all the kind of makeup effects and whatnot. And I think, from a visual effects perspective and an arts perspective, it's a really, really special, franchise.
Aside from the new Star Wars, what are you currently enjoying? Because we're spoiled for choice nowadays with TV and film and, binge watching things on Netflix. You can watch it immediately. But what are you currently enjoying? I'm sure you're busy to be watching a lot, but what do you like?
Yeah, in the sci-fi space, I recently checked out something called Peripheral with my friend Jack Rayner and Chloe Grace Moretz. I thought that was really, really great and really enjoyed that in the sci-fi space. That's the most recent thing I've watched sci-fi wise and thought was great. I recently watched Wakanda Forever. So that's the last Marvel movie I saw, which was amazing. If you haven't seen Wakanda Forever, I very much recommend it. Letitia Wright is incredible, and there's a really wonderful tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and I think for me, Black Panther was and is still one of the best kind of call it planets in the Marvel universe.
And the Marvel Universe, of course, just keeps expanding and expanding, and we are so excited in the direction that it's going with you. But starting from the beginning, what were your first memories of Marvel? Were you reading comics? Was it, the first Iron Man movie? What were your first memories of the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like a fan. The Iron Man movies were certainly kind of like formidable and very kind of fresh in my mind as one of those sort of things that really felt like it was spelling the beginning of a major franchise and series of really exciting films, from which obviously all these other incredible characters have kind of, come about. And, for that to sort of develop into the Avengers, which I think is obviously, really kind of, I don't know, that sort of feels like the apex of the whole kind of Marvel franchise. Iron Man movies, I think, what Downing Jr. does with that character is brilliant. It was a really great blend of comedy and drama. And as an actor, the opportunity to do both of those things is really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have other questions, but I have to keep going with the Marvel questions, because you guys, we have to talk about Adam Warlock. I mean, aren't we excited? We've seen the trailer. We know that Guardians is coming out in May of 2023, I believe. I'm not sure of the UK and the US release dates, but just tell us how you feel to be part of the Marvel Universe, to be right there in the thick of it as this character.
Yeah, very grateful. I mean, Guardians was something that I was a fan of before I got to audition. Especially because it's as funny as it is, I've really admired it for its comedy, and James Gunn is a really fantastic director. And I think, I approached it as a fan. Like, from the outside looking in, I was really scared. I was nervous. I was very anxious at the prospect of even being in it. And then to go and do it and find out that everyone on set is so nice. I mean, it's one of the nicest bunches of humans you could hope to meet. They're all super talented, and we know that. But it was important to me to find out, what kind of people they were. And they were just, couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more welcoming to me as the new kid. Chris was amazing and really, really helpful in loads of ways. Dave is like a teddy bear of a human being. He's so lovely. Zoe, Karen, they're all just so sweet. So that made my job coming into it as the newbie like a lot easier.
Yeah. I think everyone remembers their first memories of seeing Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like it was different than a lot of the films in the sense of, like you said, comedy. The soundtracks are, kick-ass. That's something that people always talk about. What was it like watching it for the first time? And did you feel like it's kind of stood out from the other Marvel movies that we've seen?
So I haven't seen it yet. The most I've seen is probably the same as anyone here who's seen the trailer. That's as much as I've seen as well.
From the first film, I mean.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. For the first, the first film I was a huge fan of. I think it stood out for me because of just how funny it was. It sort of felt like a comedy almost kind of first and foremost, and then it had all of the things that you love about Marvel. It had the action, it had these off-the-wall intergalactic characters, and I think the way that Marvel blend all of those things together so seamlessly in a story that's engaging is really, really hard, particularly on that scale. James does it brilliantly, and he's got his own unique brand of humor. I think the other thing that stood out for me was the soundtrack. Like, if there's one sneak peek I have for the third film, is James sent me the soundtrack for the third movie with the script. So I got to read the script, and I only got to read it once, but I got to read the script with the soundtrack. So anytime there was a song referenced, I could press play on this soundtrack that he gave me. And the music's amazing in this third movie. I mean, the music's great in all of them, but in the third one, it's particularly special. Yeah,
it's like music is its kind of own character in the film. Yeah, we're so excited for that one. But what is it like to be a part of, the Marvel Universe in the sense, I know it's still new, but, we talk to the people from Star Wars and they say, we had no idea this film was going to be so big. Or the cast of Stranger Things, for example, said that, in season 1, we were just kind of hopeful for the show, wasn't sure how it was going to happen. But you're coming into like a fully realized Marvel machine. So was there any pressure going into that for you?
Yeah, I definitely felt some pressure for sure. I sort of still do. I don't know if that pressure is ever going to be alleviated, particularly as it's a long time until it comes out. And I feel a genuine sense of like honor and real gratitude in being tasked with playing a character that people may have already formed a relationship with through the comics and have expectations of. So there's pressure with that, and I think I certainly felt it, but again, I really lent on my cast members. I really lent on James, who was very kind of encouraging, and the audition process was pretty lengthy. It started in June of 2021.
Oh wow!
And then it ran through till about October of 2021, and then we shot it and wrapped up in kind of May of this year. So It's been a long time coming, and then it'll be a full year before it's out again. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
So cool. We love to hear the insider information. I like to ask people about the auditions and how that process is, because a lot of Comic Cons, people will stand up and say, I'm a theater major, or I'm trying to get into musical theater, or I want to be an actor, a voice actor. Without pressuring you, what advice would you give to aspiring actors, voice actors, that maybe you wish someone had given you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to acknowledge I got really lucky in the sense that I'm not trained. I auditioned for my first film when I was 12, and that kind of sort of, came about in really kind of fortunate circumstances that I never really expected. I love drama. I struggled academically at school and really wanted to do it. I would say, I was really fortunate in that I had parents who supported that ambition, parents who recognized that I learned a little bit differently. I was diagnosed with dyspraxia, so school was difficult, and my parents didn't push me or force me into academics. They kind of fostered my interest in, creative things and extracurriculum subjects like drama. So for anyone looking to get into voice acting or acting, I would say performance schools or educational facilities that cater towards creative interests, like drama coach schooling and any kind of additional performance opportunities that you can find either in or away from school, just to like hone your craft, just to practice, just to make mistakes and try and get better and learn things. And honestly, these are just the sorts of environments that casting directors come to when they're looking to find someone to be in their movie. And you never know who's watching. And any experience is good experience when it comes to acting, particularly when you're starting off.
Yeah, and that's really good advice, because again, we could have people in the audience that are interested in that. And I think with this generation, everything's so instant. You can order a meal and it's there. You can post on social media. But with an audition process, or like you said, it took you so long to kind of get the part, and then the movie comes out so much later. Is there sort of a lot of waiting around, a lot of rejection in auditions? I think that's something that a lot of the people starting out don't really realize. They just see the glamour, right? They think it's this instant fame.
I could do a whole Q&A on rejection. I could be here just telling you about the amount of times I've been rejected. You do hear a lot of no's, and I've heard my fair share, and still do, and that is kind of character building, and it does kind of encourage you to sort of develop a bit of a tough skin around it. But I was saying this to someone earlier, even in hearing a no, even in getting a knockback, even in the audition process, maybe resulting in you not getting the job, which is often the case, more often than not. Certainly in my scenario, in my position, that is not a loss in the sense that you still gain the experience and you still are likely to have learned something from it. And the next time you do something, you're able to apply what you've learned, and you do inch closer towards getting that job. I think every job I've had is paved with a bunch of no's. I've had to get several knockbacks in order to get that yes. And also I get anxious. I'm naturally quite a nervous person. Like, this is not that natural to me. I'm actually quite scared right now.
Give a round of applause. It's just us. It's just us. Don't worry about it.
But you make me feel safe. But I'll be honest with you. And I say it because in the audition process, I think that is quite anxiety inducing. But one of the only ways through it is it's like cold water exposure. It's like over time, the effects of it become less and you become more comfortable, and you, as I say, kind of develop a way of coping. You sort of carve out your coping mechanism, and you grow in confidence over time through that exposure. So to anyone kind of worried about how nerves are affecting them in the audition room, I would just really, really urge you to keep going. And also, if it helps you, take the idea of getting the job off the table and remove that from the equation and do it for yourself. And just set yourself the task of doing the best job that you can do. Make sure that you leave the room happy with what you did, and then detach yourself from the idea of whether it's good enough for someone else. That's outside of your control. So don't burden yourself with that concern.
That's very encouraging. Yes, round of applause. Thank you for that. Awesome advice. Well, with fame and with having such success as you've had with your illustrious career so far, also seems to be a lot of pressure with social media. And I've seen you use your social media for so many great things. You're so philanthropic, helping with anti-poverty, anti-bullying, and so many different campaigns. But what's social media like for you? Is it something that you enjoy having a platform to use? Do you find it tedious at times?
It's interesting. I think I've found a way to use it that works for me, and I hope works for the organizations that I work with and causes that I support. It's a case of each to their own. I think that in the case of social media, I think provided people's mental health is being kind of taken care of and is at the forefront of, the consideration, then great, and if it what works for one person might not work for someone else. I've kind of found that the balance you speak about works for me, but it also does kind of limit me, to sort of face-to-face fan interactions. But I actually kind of prefer that and prefer, this scenario because it feels a bit more humane, and it's been really nice to hear kind of firsthand from people, what their experiences have been of some of the things I've done, and I'm really touched by it. I realize I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for people watching the films and enjoying them, and I'm really, really grateful for that.
But he's going, you go above and beyond rather than just post some selfies and have fun with social media. Please make sure you're following Will on social media for all of the amazing causes that you support. Round of applause for that, for using your celebrity and your platform to make a difference. This guy just gave you a fist bump in the back. Yeah, bro. Thank you. So shifting, we're going to ask for questions in just a moment, but shifting forward to career goals, are there any actors that you have not worked with that you would love to? Who's on your bucket list?
Oh my gosh. There's a long list. I really want to work with Michaela Cole. I think she's amazing. I wanted to see more of her in Wakanda Forever, but I thought she was brilliant. Daniel Kaluuya too, who I'm really keen to work with. I've said for a long time I want to work with Dan. He's also a really nice guy. There's a long list. I mean, I have to be honest, I feel like I ticked off a few people, on my list in Guardians 3. I can't necessarily say all of those people. Some of them are kind of spoilers, but...
Was it Rocket Raccoon? Did you really want to work with him?
Well, listen, working with Rocket was very exciting. And Groot, to be fair.
And Groot!
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm very grateful, to have worked with the people that I've worked with to date. And I just, I'm excited to see how being part of Marvel, potentially kind of opens me up to opportunities to work with more people.
And when you come back to Comic-Con, we'll have even more to talk about. Very exciting. But was there an actor or a film or even a TV show that you were watching when you were younger and you just thought, I've got to do that. I want to be like this person, or I want to be in a role like that? Who kind of struck you, or what role struck you?
Robin Williams was a huge inspiration for me. Absolutely loved Robin Williams, still do. He's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Hook was that film for me growing up. I loved Hook. Just about everything Robin did, but...
That scared me as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I just said it scared me as a kid. It was a little scary.
Yeah, it was. And I kind of watched it on repeat endlessly, and, the fairy tale that is, Peter Pan was so inspiring, and that concept of like celebrating childhood and your age, in that moment, and being present and enjoying that and trying to savor it, I think was a really lovely message. And the community of the Lost Boys was also a really kind of a really sort of fun world to sort of feel like you belong to for a moment. So yeah, and it's chock full of amazing performances as well.
People tend to forget that Maggie Smith was in Hook.
Yes,
Big
Maggie Smith was.
And we had Rufio at one of the Comic-Cons and I nearly died.
Oh my gosh.
Rufio. Cheers for Rufio. Who remembers Rufio?
Oh,
Hook?
Incredible.
Oh yeah. A lot of them are too young at this point.
Rufio.
Yeah, what a film. If you guys have not seen Hook, we're telling you here, it's a great film to watch. Now, where is my friend Caitlin with the microphone? She's already here. Give it up for Caitlin, everybody. She's working very hard. And we know you guys are so excited to ask your questions, so let's get right to it. We have a question here in the front row from this lovely lady.
Hi.
Hey.
Was it difficult to shoot the Black Mirror movie for you? Spain Loves You.
Oh, thank you so much. I love Spain. Yeah, the Black Mirror Bandersnatch, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's an interactive film where you choose your own adventure. And so you kind of interact with the film using a remote. And for us, from a production standpoint, it was really, really complicated because you had to shoot like 3 to 5 different versions of every scene. And we were also on a TV schedule. And I apologize if I'm patronizing anyone in the room here, but it meant that we did something called block shooting. So rather than breaking it up and doing the wide shot and then the 2 shot and then the close up and then doing version 2 in the same way, we did all 5 versions on the wide before we then did all 5 versions in the 2 shot and then all 5 versions in the close up. So there were times where I don't know what version we were on and what shot it was and what my name was and whether I had a cigarette in my mouth or not. I didn't it was very, very hard to sort of keep up with what was going on. Finn Whitehead, who's the lead, did a much better job than I did, as did Asim Chowdhury. But Annabelle and Charlie, who are the creators of Black Mirror, are genius. Annabelle Jones and Charlie Brooker, they're unbelievable. And I don't think there's any overrating them. They're genius. Yeah.
Great question. We have a question over here on the left.
Hi, I was just wondering what about a script makes you kind of go, okay, I really want to do this because I want to be a script writer. So learning about it from the actor's perspective is helpful for me in writing. That's
a really, really good question. So I'm going to say something unhelpful before I say something helpful. The unhelpful part is it's really, really hard to quantify exactly what makes a great script. That being said, there is a formula of sorts, and there are certain things that stick out. I think scripts that are lean, that are efficient with their use of words, I think typically speaking, scripts don't really tend to drop below 95 pages. And if you're going north of 120, you're probably entering too high. So as you probably know as a scriptwriter, but just for the benefit of the whole room, but keeping it lean and succinct as possible. I think another thing to bear in mind is thinking about your dialogue in the context of the world that it's set in. So I really respond to dialogue generally that feels believable. And that doesn't mean to say that it's necessarily everyday vernacular, because it could be set on a different planet, 1,000 years into the future. But still there's a requirement for the dialogue coming out of the mouths of the characters to feel believable and feel real. And I think constantly returning back to that question, is this believable? Does this feel authentic? Would this character say this? Would the other character respond in the same way? I think that gets actors excited rather than them seeing something that they feel like they're going to have to make work. You want to sort of incite that desire to want to actually say it and do some of the work for them. Some of us are lazy, so there's that. But yeah.
Someone's applauding being lazy. Manchester's the
give it up
best.
for laziness.
Yeah, laziness. Woo! I have lost Miss Caitlin. There she is. Oh, she's right in the front there. Hi there.
I love you in The Maze Runner, by the way. And
thank you.
Who's someone that you've met who you've fangirled over?
Oh, I've fanboyed over so many people. I'm trying to think. I mean, look, the Guardians cast, I was freaking out then. That's for sure. I really fanboyed over Michael Keaton, who played Batman, and Michael Keaton giving me advice on how to wear a superhero costume was pretty bizarre, but very needed. And also to find out that these people are really nice as well, is a really lovely outcome. So answer would be the whole Guardians cast and Michael Keaton. Yeah.
Great answer. Was there anyone here at For the Love of Sci-Fi that either you knew and you were excited to be reunited with, and or someone that you were like, oh my God, I'm going to freak out and I'm starstruck?
There's no one I know personally, but there's plenty of people that I'm starstruck by. And as I said, as a Star Wars fan, to be sat next to so many of the cast members is really crazy, and nothing I could have imagined in my wildest dreams as a kid. That's really, really crazy. So I'm definitely tripping out over that.
I should probably not ask you this while they can hear us talking, because what if you were like,
now I've
oh my
totally
God, it's
embarrassed
Mads,
myself.
and he's literally sitting over there, really putting you on the spot there. Caitlin has another question for us, and she's all the way on the right there.
She's over there.
Hiya.
Hi, Will.
Hey.
Hi. I just wanted to say, first of all, I watched Dope Sick recently.
Oh.
Such an amazing show.
Thank you.
I didn't like your character at first.
Fair enough.
But I did in the end.
Thank you.
So Midsommar is one of my all-time favourite films.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm just wondering what it was like to work with Ari Aster, who has such a unique vision for film.
Yeah, so well put. He really does. He's got a unique vision, and I think that calls for quite a unique process. He's very, very particular with how he designs scenes and how he blocks the action. Like right down to the smallest, measure. Like he's asking you to move to the left by centimeters and, move to the right by millimeters. He's really, really particular in his framing, and he thinks about every frame kind of like you would a painting. He's very, very precise. And that's really, really cool to work that way and to have the visuals kind of so embedded in the process that it kind of, as an actor, it kind of encourages decisions out of you and leads action in a way that can really kind of take you by surprise. And he also thinks about the psychology of all of his characters with real depth and appreciation for the detail. And that's something that I think, going back to the question you asked about script writing, actors really appreciate when there feels like there's a real psychological history behind the characters, and they feel authentic. They're not caricatures, they're not paint by numbers, they're not stereotypes, they are real human beings. Like, we're all so unique and so different. And I think when that shows up on screen, as it does in so many of Ari's films, it makes for better projects. And I think we as audience members all connect with it more because of that, Yeah.
Great question. You're so interesting that I keep leaning in to understand what you're saying, and I'm like, oh, I've lost my girl here. I forget where she went. Quickly, there, she's right there. But quick question for me is: have you ever played a character that really resonated with you? Like, which did you relate to the most out of all that you've played?
I always try and find some aspect of the character, however good or bad, that I can relate to in some way. Yeah. Are there some that playing Kenny Miller in We're the Millers, I was
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
I was like, the costume department said, what do you want to wear? And I said, well, here's a photo of me at 13. Basically, I used to wear exactly the same thing, except maybe my polo shirt wasn't stripy. Okay. But I had the Casio wristwatch, I had the JanSport backpack. I had the whole thing going on. So yeah, Kenny at, whatever he is in that movie, 18, was basically just me at 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe up to 18 as well. So that's I related to Kenny in a strange way, lots of respects. Yeah.
Shout out to JanSport. The nostalgia's running wild here. Nothing but the best. We've got a question right here on the right.
Hi, I really liked meeting you before, and I loved you in We're the Millers, but can you possibly tell us what was your favourite song out of the soundtrack in the new Guardians film?
I'm in spoiler
past Guardians films.
I'm in spoiler territory.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet you two earlier as well. I will say that for me, the Guardians soundtrack, the title soundtrack song, is still my favorite, and that still hits in a way that I don't think any of the others do. I can't reveal any of the songs from the third movie. That was a good try though. But yeah, the title soundtrack song for the first movie is my favorite still, I think.
Thank you. Good question. Where did she? It's so fast. Where is she gone now, Caitlin?
I'm gonna need a hat for this.
Oh, there she is.
I'm gonna
She's
need
right there.
Sign.
Yeah, you need a light up hat or something.
Hi, I love doing We're the Millers and Maze Runner, and I was just wondering, do you remember the rap from We're the Millers, and if so, could you do it, please?
No. Put you on the spot.
I made a promise that I would retire from rapping the moment I did that, and I think the world's a better place since. And I honestly can't even remember the lyrics, even if I tried to do it, to be honest. But it was a moment that wasn't originally in the script, and Jason Sudeikis, who's the lead of the movie with Jen, called me into his trailer. He's like, I've got this idea. And it was like the day before, or maybe it was over the weekend. I think I had a couple of days to learn the lyrics, and he like pitched me the idea. I was like, yeah, I think it's funny. And then the next, time we were on set, which I think was like the Monday morning, we did it. But sadly, I can't remember it anymore, which is convenient as well, because I'd be way too nervous to rap right now. Yeah.
They always want a performance, they do. Well, I have to fangirl over the fact that Jennifer Aniston is one of my favorites, and I feel like Friends is possibly more popular in the UK than America. It's on 24/7. So were you a Friends fan before you embarked on We're the Millers?
Huge.
Were you?
Me and my sister watched every episode of Friends growing up more than once. So, yeah, to work with Jennifer, who again is one of those people that I really admired, felt so lucky to be working with. It felt really surreal, but she's so cool and normal and sweet that it kind of just took away the nerves, that surrounded kind of the prospect of meeting with her and working with her. She's great, and was really, really lovely to me. Her and Jason were really wonderful to me on Guardians. On Millers. Yeah.
He's hilarious. Now, do you have a favorite friend? This is a very controversial, polarizing question.
This is a big question.
It's a big one.
I'm a big Ross fan.
Me too.
You're a Ross fan?
Team Ross, anybody?
Is that
Ross
Team Ross?
Geller?
Yeah.
I think he's a paleontologist. He's fascinating.
I love Ross.
I love Ross.
He's hilarious.
He's so funny. We have Caitlin. Who are you guys saying? Oh, she's a Chandler fan.
There's a lot of Chandler fans.
There's not a bad friend.
There's not a bad friend.
Yeah.
They're all good friends.
Yeah. Would you be Ross if you had to pick who you were the most like? Are you a Ross?
Oh, I'm like a little naturally nerdy, so I think so. That sort of suits, right? Yeah, I think so.
A little touch of Ross in
Yeah, touch of Ross, touch of the nerd, yeah.
Sounds like a cologne. A touch of Ross. You smell lovely. What are you wearing? We have Caitlin back here on the right with a question. Thank you. Touch of Ross.
Touch of Ross.
If your character, Gally in Maze Runner, if you had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, what a question. If he had a theme song. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I wish I was prepared for that. Now I'm like, when someone says, oh, it's your turn to choose a song, and the anxiety of that, I've got that on about 11 out of 10 now. If Gally had a theme song, I mean, he's really keen for them to stay in the glade and not go to the maze. So like the first thing that were coming into my mind were like running tracks, but that makes absolutely no sense. I want to say something from, I don't know if anyone's seen Bo Burnham Inside. There you go. I think something from Bo Burnham's Inside, because Gally's always wanting to stay in the glade and not leave. And I think Can You Be Funny When Stuck in a Room might be good lyrics for Gally to live by. Yeah. He needs to cheer up as well.
Well, now that we're talking of music, do you have, another serious question from me, if I may, do you have a karaoke song that you rock? I'm not going to ask you to sing it, by the way.
You know what? Elton John. Elton John's my go-to with karaoke. I love Elton John. That would be my go-to.
Anything Elton, or you rock
pretty much anything Elton. Really? I love Elton. Yeah, that would be up there for me.
It's a good question to get to know somebody. Team Elton. We have a question right here in the back, right in the middle.
So you've talked a lot about what got you into acting in the first place. What's it that's kept you so passionate about it? Because it's not always an easy job at times. What is it that keeps you motivated and what makes you want to continue acting?
Oh, thank you for that question. Yeah, I mean, the simple, honest answer is it's been the thing that's made me happiest since I was a kid, regardless of what kind of difficulties, I experience, like from a mental health perspective, like acting and drama has always been a really amazing outlet for me. And I think I don't really know how to be kind of content without still doing it. So that it's kind of a maintenance thing for me. But one thing that kind of keeps me going is definitely seeing how it impacts people. Like, it's genuinely so exciting and gratifying to find out that people have watched something that you created and that may have made them feel better, or might have offered them the opportunity for escapism, or may have contributed to an important conversation, in relation to an issue, in society. Like, someone mentioned Dope Sick, and the fact that you even watched it and that it may have resonated is really major. I think as actors, we're so lucky to have the opportunity to experience lots of different jobs in one singular career, and to get an idea of what it's like to, just for a moment, step into someone else's shoes, but to also have that job give you a chance to meet people from all over the world and kind of interact with them and communicate with them through this medium of film or television. It's really special, and that definitely motivates me to keep wanting to do it.
What a great question. That was awesome. Thank you. The only thing with Comic-Cons and acting and people sort of feeling like they know you because they think they do through these characters, is that something a bit difficult when people sort of don't know a boundary, or they feel like they know you but they really just know your characters? Do you find that a bit difficult at times?
I just some of the characters I played are so horrible that I just hope no one thinks that I'm those characters. I think one fun thing about the job is the opportunity to, as I say, kind of play lots of different types of people and people from different backgrounds and stuff, and it teaches you a lot about human psychology, and I think it's helped me navigate the world a little bit better and understand people in general, and meet people in their context. Someone's dressed as Wally. I found Wally. I don't know if anyone's playing a game of Where's Wally.
There he is.
Wally.
Hey, Wally.
Legend. That's
Give it
an
up
amazing
for Wally,
costume.
everybody.
That's an amazing costume.
We've been looking for you, man.
So that's definitely been it's been a blessing in lots of ways. It rarely is it. I don't know. I think certainly going on today, all of my interactions have been so lovely and so positive. So I'm just grateful for that.
And playing good or bad characters, which do you enjoy more? And if you say the baddies, we will not judge. You can be honest.
It's really fun to play characters with a redemption arc. Characters who start off conflicted and then make choices that move towards the right decision and end up, doing the just, I think, respectable thing. That's been really, really fun, and I've been lucky enough to play a few characters who have gone that route, and it's been enjoyable.
Very cool. Good answer. We have time for one final question. It's going to be right here with our Scoops Ahoy gentleman here on the left.
Hi,
Carmen,
again.
what's
up? Hi. So you were in Dark Pictures, Little Hope. And I'm wondering what it was like to do voice work and do the recording, because like Bandersnatch, there's multiple choices and endings, so like that. I'm wondering if that was quite different from normal work that you've done. Yeah,
Little Hope was the first and only video game I've done, and it was my first time doing motion capture. So I'd done quite a bit of stuff that's required interaction with CGI elements, and quite a lot of visual effects stuff at that point. But I'd never done motion capture, so to do that was really, really fun, and it was really interesting, to have kind of that sort of acting experience where it's very, very fast paced. You're moving kind of at the speed of light. I mean, they shoot video games so quickly. And obviously, as you point out, because of the multiple choice element, you're accounting for all the different choices that the player could make. So you're doing loads and loads and loads of scenes. I mean, you're probably moving at 30 times the pace that you would be with a film. You're probably getting through 30 times as much material, if not more, per day. Yeah, maybe it's even more than that. Maybe it's like close to 40. It's a lot, and it's an intense pace. But I really enjoyed it. Little Hope was fun, and the Dark Pictures anthology just has some great actors in it. You know, Jesse Buckley, and I know Rami Malek did one. So I was just so grateful to do, you know, to have any small part in it. Yeah.
Great question. And speaking of great actors, you are amazing, and we're so thrilled that you could come here and share your memories with us. Do you have any final words for your adoring fans before we let you get back to your autographs and photos?
That's really kind. I just want to say a genuine thank you so much. Like, I think, if I'm being honest, I was quite nervous, but when you do things like this and you meet so many people, we're strangers to each other, but we're connected through things that we love, which is TV and film, and to have so many like nice, genuine, heartwarming interactions, just thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I've had such a good time because of you, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Will Poulter, everybody.
Thank you.